Today, Israel laid to rest, or the Bibas family laid to rest, Shiri, the mother, and Kfir and Ariel, the two little boys, 4 and just about 10 months when he was killed. Kfir, the little baby, these two red-haired angels who were taken and stolen from their home on October 7th and taken by Hamas into captivity in the Gaza Strip. And as we discovered when their bodies were returned to Israel, and probably what was maybe the saddest day almost collectively or nationally after October 7th, when Hamas launched its brutal invasion and massacre of Israelis, 1,200 who were killed, 251 who were taken hostage back on October 7th, 2023, when Israel and I would say people around the world held out hoping that Shiri and her two boys might still be alive. We unfortunately discovered last week that they were not, and their bodies were returned to Israel. And today they were put to rest and brought to burial. And it is something that brought out tens of thousands of people to the streets across the country, to the funeral procession, to the funeral itself. On the radio stations, TV stations, the funeral was broadcast live for Israelis to watch, to listen to the eulogy by Yardain, the father, the husband of Shiri, who was returned to Israel just about 2 weeks ago. He came back from Hamas captivity, but without his wife, without his sons.
Shiri, I love you and will always love you. Shiri, you are everything to me. You are the best wife and mother there could be. Shiri, you are my best friend. Mishmish, that's your nickname. Who will help me make decisions now? How am I supposed to make decisions without you? Do you remember our last decision together in the safe room? I asked if we should fight or surrender. You said fight, so I fought. Shiri, I'm sorry I couldn't protect you all. If only I'd known what would happen, I wouldn't have fired. I think about everything we went through together. There are so many beautiful memories. I remember Ariel and Kfir's births. I remember the days we would sit at home or in a cafe, just the two of us, talking for hours about everything. It was wonderful. I miss those times deeply.
Just a heartbreaking moment for Israel. These two boys especially had become, with their red hair, had become something of a symbol, I would say, in the struggle that Israel has been engaged in against Hamas and in this long war that Israel has been caught up in trying to create a new sense of security in the South. But it really is a tragic moment.
The Bibas children in particular became the symbol of who we are and who we're fighting against. Here's a photo of the Bibas brothers. These perfect children, again, were 4 years old and less than 1 year old when the Hamas savages snatched them from their mother's arms. She fought like a lioness to protect her boys. Just imagine their horror.
I don't think I can even describe the feeling. I guess the best way to describe it is that everyone are sad. It's everyone feel as if it's one of their family members was murdered there, and it's one of the saddest days I can recall here for a long period of time. And as you all know, there are a lot of sad days here. If you go out to the street and ask anyone, they will probably share the same sadness as you. And what can I say? It's a sad day. It's actually a sad week since it became official, and we'll have to find a way to recover from it, and obviously help Yarden Bibas recover from it. I didn't know them personally, unfortunately. I know everything from stories, but what can you say about a happy family, two amazing kids, beautiful, amazing kids. My daughter described it best. They didn't even have the chance to do something in life before they were kidnapped and murdered. So I think that's the saddest day. And I don't even recall myself as sad as today.
And it underscores, I think, two important elements that we have to keep in mind. The first is Hamas has to be taken down. Hamas is still present in Gaza. We see this every week when there are the releases of hostages and they are taken from the tunnels or wherever they're being kept and brought to the Red Cross and then brought back to Israel, that we still see dozens and hundreds of armed Hamas men masked with their green bands across their foreheads. Hamas is still there. They are rebuilding, and there are plenty of stories and reports now of Hamas rebuilding rocket capability. We saw some rockets that have been fired just in the last few days. That's number one. Hamas has to be removed from power and is the ruler over the Gaza Strip so that the Gaza Strip never once again presents the threat that it did before October 7th, now 16, 17 months ago. But what it also underscores, I think, is the importance for Israel in getting back its people. The time is not on the side of the hostages who remain. There are still dozens who are there. And we really have to do as a country everything possible to bring them back, because if we don't, they will unfortunately come back in coffins like Shiri, like Kfir, like Ariel, or they won't come back at all and they might be lost forever. And that is something that I think in the ethos of the Israeli people, in what it means to be Israeli, we have to do everything possible to get them back home. This splits into kind of two different levels, I would say, or categories. The first is Israel is still very much engaged in doing what it can to create that sense of security, to create a new reality, especially along the border and in the south, for the communities like the one where the Bibas family came from, to prevent one of those kibbutzim, to prevent Hamas from ever being able to pose once again a threat, the likes of what it did to Israel back on October 7th. That all has to be done because, as we've seen in the past, these terrorist groups, if allowed to, they will rearm, they will rebuild, and their genocidal ambitions, their desire to murder and kill and destroy the state of Israel is not going to go away. I mean, when we think about, for example, Kfir and Ariel, two little boys, right? One just a baby, can not even walk yet. And to hear the forensic reports and the autopsy reports after their bodies came back and were verified with DNA that these in fact were Ariel and Kfir, and to hear how they were literally killed by Hamas hands, it's really difficult to comprehend, to wrap your head around how can people do that. And people often want to go and say, no, these are monsters or these are animals, but unfortunately, these are people. These are people like we are, and but something has pushed them to do this poison, this radical ideology, this passion to destroy Israel is so stronger than anything else. That has to be eradicated for Israel to achieve a real security. So that is something that's definitely on the Israeli mind, and it's definitely something that the Israeli government is thinking about. But where it also catches Israel, and the government in particular, is this is pretty much the end of the first stage of the hostage deal, right? Israel has gotten back out of the original stage of the hostage deal. It was supposed to be 33 hostages. Most of them were alive. There's still a couple of bodies of hostages that are meant to be returned to Israel potentially today or tomorrow, and those will come back. But there still are dozens of hostages who are alive, who are being held in Gaza. And there's a real debate right now within the government of what is the right way to do that. What is the right way to get them back? When the deal was originally made, there was going to be the first stage for the 33, and then the second stage was going to include an end to the war, an Israeli complete withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, because Israeli forces are still positioned in some of the key strategic places in Gaza, like along the border with Egypt, where Hamas had its main weapon smuggling tunnels. Israel is still there. So the second stage was supposed to see the Israeli withdrawal, as well as Israel saying war is over. And there are a lot of people in Israel, and especially in the government, that say this can't be the end of the war. We see that Hamas is still ruling Gaza. We see that Hamas still has weapons. We see that Hamas still has capabilities. So what is the right way to go forward? If we end the war now, even getting back everyone, what does that mean for the future of Gaza? What does that mean for the future of Israel when it comes to its security? So this debate of how do we move forward, on the one hand, prevent Hamas from rebuilding, on the other hand, get back the rest of the hostages, is not simple. And it's not a balancing act that we know an exact scientific answer how to do this. And to achieve both those goals, which were set out in the beginning of this war, get back the hostages, but also stop and remove Hamas from power, we have yet to achieve either of those goals. And how do you do them both at the same time? Well, we're still finding it very difficult to achieve that.